First story is our big story. Drama playing out at Lambeau Field. Monday Night Football, Packers hosting the Niners. Pick this up with Green Bay trailing in the fourth. Under 2 minutes to play. Rodgers, Davante Adams in the end zone. Tied at 30. Rodgers, 425 yards passing, 2 scores. Next drive, that was C.J. Beathard, picked off by Kevin King. That was too much time for Rodgers. With 10 seconds to go, he hits Adams, who had 132 yards on the night, setting up Mason Crosby. A week after he missed 5 kicks against the Lions, Crosby nails the game winner this time as time expires, all orchestrated by that guy right there, Aaron Rodgers. Packers win. Here is Rodgers on his kicker's redemption.
It's very apropos. What he went through last week, and the team to stick with him, and the guys to kind of wrap our arms around him and encourage him the way that we do for our teammates was great. And then he responded. You know, the crowd, I thought was very encouraging. I was trying to figure out at first if it was kind of a sarcastic cheer, but I felt like it was a pretty heartfelt encouragement after he made, you know, 4 field goals and 3 extra points. So he was obviously very happy afterwards, and we're very happy for him.
All right, so there's 2 ways of looking at this game. You could look at it and say, boy, Aaron Rodgers, unbelievable game yet again. Or you could say, you know, the Packers should not have gotten to in this situation where they were this close against a 49ers team who was not playing well. So you see, which one were you more impressed with Aaron Rodgers, or were you more worried that this came down to the very end?
I got serious concerns about Green Bay. There's no way the game should be as contested as it is, but you have to give credit to Kyle Shanahan, the staff there in San Francisco, getting the team ready, getting a backup quarterback in C.J. Beathard ready to play. I mean, I love his play calling. For them to be able to make as many big plays against this Green Bay defense, you know, that right there would have to cause you concern. But on the other hand, you have to look at it with Kyle Shanahan got a quarterback ready to play. Is Kyle Shanahan really the quarterback whisperer? Look at the impact that he's had on quarterbacks. Impact on Matty Ice, forget about the MVP season, but when he leaves, not only Cleveland, when he left Atlanta, and now him being with Jimmy Garoppolo, C.J. Beathard, to me, that was one of the significant things. Green Bay, I'm concerned about them, and Kyle Shanahan getting his team ready and a young quarterback ready to play on a big stage at Monday night. I was very, very impressed with them and what they did offensively.
What Rodgers did last night was magical. There are reasons to be concerned about Green Bay, and I know we're going to get into those. But he had 2 perfect 2-minute drives. The second one wasn't even a 2-minute drive. He went 7 plays, 67 yards in 43 seconds. In 43 seconds, he got from his own 45 down to a chip shot field goal, 4 plays in 19 seconds. He was in such total control on that final drive of the game where he kept looking over to McCarthy. 1 more play. And then with 6 seconds left. No, you know what? Let me get 1 extra play just so when Mason hits this field goal, we don't have to kick off. That was the play where he ended up just throwing it out of bounds. It was perfect ball placement. Yes, some of them were to Davante Adams, but one of them was to Equanimeous St. Brown. One of the plays on the first 2-minute drive was to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a couple of these rookies that he had not been on the same page with in training camp. He was just perfect Aaron Rodgers last night. And that's what's so frustrating. You need perfect Aaron Rodgers to steal a win at home against C.J. Beathard. And credit to Kyle Shanahan, because you're right, man. It does feel like give him a quarterback, give him a couple weeks, and he will scheme it up. And so I give him a ton of credit. But if this was in San Francisco, I feel differently. Monday night game on the road for Green Bay. Okay, fine. To have this game come down to the wire at home before your bye when you've already been shaky, but you have an opportunity because the Bears lost, because of how your division's looking. This is a huge game. And Aaron said it after the game. Because of who you have coming up next. Aaron brought it up. This isn't me looking at the schedule. He said, we got the bye. Then we got a really tough slate of games coming. We'll see who we really are. Well, who they are right now is Aaron Rodgers and some guys. And Davante Adams is a good player. I think Kenny Clark's a good player. But they're not getting help, in my mind, from their coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball, from their head coach. And Rodgers has to make magic against a team he shouldn't have to make magic against.
Which everyone here knows and agrees he's fully capable of doing. The tough slate of games you say coming up, Rams and Patriots back-to-back.
On the road, both of them.
On the road, which is going to be tough. How sustainable is it to say, no matter what happens, this guy's going to bail us out? Because Nick's right. He had to play his absolute best to beat C.J. Beathard and the 49ers at home.
Oh, no, you forget about just Aaron Rodgers playing at his best, but this defense not only running but passing. And now you're talking about going against those teams? What do you think those teams are going to do? And they have quarterbacks far more capable and weapons more capable than what the Packers faced last night. So I would be concerned, man, if the Packers had lost this game, I mean, my goodness, I don't know what the storylines would be, but Mike McCarthy and them, they can wake up this morning and realize, yes, we do have Aaron Rodgers, but the next couple of weeks, man, this defense, if it's not better, they're going to get thrashed.
This game, to me, was a perfect microcosm for what the last half-decade of football in Green Bay has been. Aaron Rodgers covering up for all of the warts of the team. Aaron Rodgers covering up for what I think is an uninspired game plan on both sides of the ball. Aaron Rodgers covering up for what has been a franchise that I feel is squandering the prime of one of the greatest players ever. I hate to be negative after a team gets a great win like that. And I know the people of Wisconsin, they were watching the NLCS. They see the Brewers take a 2-1 lead. They flip over. They see Rodgers execute this 2-minute drill. It's a great day.
Everything's great.
But you look at this from 30,000 feet. You let C.J. Beathard and Raheem Mostert run wild on you? Like, that's what you let happen. These guys that were third stringers on anyone's depth chart to start the season. Those guys put up 30 points in your building. Those guys had it to where Aaron Rodgers needed a vintage performance. And I don't want to take anything away from the vintage performance because he executed 2-2-minute drills in 3 minutes. It was perfect, but it's really concerning for a team that I think a lot of people thought going into the year, if Rodgers healthy, why can't they go to the Super Bowl? Why can't they come out of the really tough NFC?
Well, Aaron Rodgers every year. That should be the goal. Those should be the questions every year in Green Bay. But their inability to stop the run, I mean, they got gutted running the football. Couldn't start Marquise Goodwin. Him and Pierre Garçon, I give Pierre credit, but I mean, the only threat they had last night was Goodwin that they had to guard. They couldn't stop him. So the next 3 weeks, Green Bay season, man, we're going to get a real snapshot of who we think they are and going against what we think to be better offenses and better teams in the league.
Let me ask you a real quick question about Marquise Goodwin, because he was a legitimate track star. Like, that was where he made his name. But that is really, he does one thing great, straight line speed, and not a whole bunch of other things really well.
Right.
When you're isn't that a relatively easy receiver to scheme against? If you know you just have to make sure he doesn't get behind you?
Well, the thing now, if we look from, let's go to Miami, Albert Bell. Let's go to
Albert Wilson.
Albert Wilson. Let's go to your guy, Tyreek Hill. Right now in the NFL, the offenses we're going to pass the ball, but these offenses are finding spaces for speed guys. And I've never seen the number of speed guys playing well at the same level. So it has a lot to do with offensive coordinators taking advantage of these defenses. And now, because you can't bump and run these guys as much, they can get off the line of scrimmage and be able to threaten the defense in a way with their speed that's it's hard to duplicate. So that's what I see, and that's why I see Goodwin and Shanahan has taken advantage of that speed and really developed him as a receiver.
Packers escape with a win over the 49ers. We'll have both Mark Schlereth and Eric Mangini out here to talk about this game much more. But coming up, Tom
Rodgers
Brady
pulled one out of his head.
Has some praise for the Chiefs that you're going to want to hear. That's next on First Things First.
Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. They strive to make financial services work for everyone, not just the wealthy. Robinhood is a non-intimidating way for stock market newcomers to invest for the first time with true confidence. Robinhood is simple and intuitive with a clear design that shows data presented in an easy-to-digest way. Here's why I recommend Robinhood. No commission fees. Other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, but Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees. Trade stocks and keep all of your profits. It's simple, easy to understand charts and market data. Place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. Robinhood web platform also lets you view stock collections. Collections are like sectors like entertainment, social media, curated categories like female CEOs, and analyst ratings of buy, hold, sell for every stock. You learn by doing it. Learn how to invest as you build your portfolio. Discover new stocks and track favorite companies with personalized news feeds, custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. Robinhood is giving our listeners a free stock such as Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help build your portfolio. Sign up at first.robinhood.com. That's first.robinhood.com.
The NFL's Week 6 is in the books, but we are still talking about some of the best it had to offer, namely Chiefs and Pats. New England might have won Sunday night, but the Kansas City Chiefs certainly put on a show on national television. Patrick Mahomes nearly pulled off a miracle comeback against Tom Brady, leaving quite the impression on the New England quarterback.
They got a good offense. I mean, he delivers the ball. Those guys have a lot of speed. They catch and run with it. You know, Tyreek Hill play there at the end was pretty spectacular. You know, jump up, you know, catch the ball, and then his ability to accelerate is, you know, there's no one like him in the NFL. He's so talented. So between Kelsey, Hunt, Sammy Watkins, you know, the way Mahomes can throw the ball, it's going to be tough to stop those guys too. So they got a good team. I'm sure they'll be there in the end.
One thing you always notice about Tom Brady, he watches the game even when he's on the sideline. He knows what everyone else does. He's so tuned in to how good his opponents are, or when he goes to game plan against them. See, which team do you trust more moving forward, the Patriots or the Chiefs?
It's hard to say you trust another team more than you trust the Patriots, because it's not X's and O's. It's all the situations that lead up to it. It's all the players over the next 10 weeks that are going to be hurt, all the adjustments that you're going to have to make, who's going to reinvent themselves week after week, which team will be better now in December. And New England has passed all those things with flying colors. So it's not a matter of the X's and O's. They have Tom Brady. They have Bill Belichick. They face more adversity than any team out there. It's the Patriot, and how they do things is what I have to trust more. Now, Kansas City has a lot of talent. I believe their offense will be explosive. It's hard to be last in yards per game and think you're going to trust that.
Defensively.
Because it's that right there, that's time of possession right there. So you're going to have game. What if you have bad weather? And what if you have a game where a team has the ball 36, 38 minutes? How are you going to win those games? You have to play a perfect game. Can't turn the ball over. So it puts a lot of pressure on the offense. That's why I got to trust the Pats more.
We both sat here yesterday and said that we believe the Chiefs are better. That if this game were in Arrowhead, they would have won. That the Patriots played their perfect game, and the Chiefs didn't.
That if there was 10 more seconds or 2 minutes on
if the Chiefs got the ball last, they would have won. And that the Chiefs have reinforcements coming in the form of Justin Houston and potentially Eric Berry. I still believe all of those things. I also think you have to trust the Patriots more. Because the Patriots, we know they can sustain injury. We've seen them do it. We know they can execute a playoff comeback. We saw them do it 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, last year in the AFC Championship game against the Jaguars. What's the Chiefs' playoff memory? Blowing a 3-score lead to Marcus Mariota at home. That was this past year. I understand it's a different quarterback.
Thank goodness.
Right. What's Andy Reid's great playoff memories with the Chiefs? There aren't any. Losing the game that I mentioned right there, losing a game to the Steelers where you score 2 touchdowns, they score none, it's at home, and you still lose that game. Like, for all of those reasons, you have to trust the Pats more, even if you think the Chiefs are better, even if you think the Chiefs are more talented. That's what they've earned and what Brady's earned. And I thought Coach made a very interesting point yesterday when I pressed him on, all right, if you don't believe in Patrick Mahomes, what young quarterback do you believe in? Do you believe in Carson Wentz? And he said, well, I'd like to see Carson Wentz in a playoff game before I say that. As much as I believe Patrick Mahomes is a star in this league, His first playoff game, we saw nerves at the beginning of this game against the Pats. We saw him miss a touchdown pass to Kareem Hunt on that wheel route. They had him. It wasn't that some great coverage. He just missed him. Like, what are the nerves going to be for Patrick Mahomes in his first playoff game? Because I'll tell you what Tom Brady's nerves are going to be. None whatsoever. It's going to be whatever playoff game they play to start their postseason is going to be roughly the 35th biggest game of Brady's career. So for all those reasons, I think you have to trust the Patriots more.
The one thing that Tom Brady has over Patrick Mahomes is the one thing he'll always have over Patrick Mahomes until he goes through it is experience. And the experience keeps you steady and calm. The experience has made you, play through all these adversity and the different situations and all the things that this young phenom has yet to do. So when you talk about trust, really, most of it comes with having done it, having had a coach who put you through it and prepared you for it, does it not?
Yeah, he had more experience than Nick Foles, too. And they lost.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's about the team playing and can their defense. Which one of these defenses in the most critical time can get a third down stop, can get a turnover, who's going to have the ball last? So last year, we know New England's defense let them down. Tom Brady played almost as well as you can play, but turned the ball over in the most critical spot. Tom Brady turned the ball over in this game to be able to get Kansas City back into the game. So, yes, experience, it does have something to do with it. But now, man, the NFL, it's easy to throw the ball. It's easy to move the ball down the field. So everyone can throw it. So I think the playing field has been leveled because there's so many guys that can play at a high level from a quarterback position because of the rule changes that I believe that the field have a better chance now of being able to remove the experience part of it because the game is so much easier. The old game used to be the regular season was one way, and then in the playoffs, it was even more physical. You can't play that way anymore. So some of Brady's experience and the huge margin he has on the gap on the other quarterbacks is minimized because it's easier for everyone to be able to throw the ball.
Obviously, the Pats have a better overall defense than the Kansas City Chiefs. But there are two areas that the Chiefs are much better than the Patriots. And as far as slowing down the Chiefs' offense, I think they might be the two most critical stats. One is the Pats are dead last in the NFL in sacks. Like, one way to slow down this offense is to get to Patrick Mahomes. They couldn't this past weekend. One of those interceptions he threw was just a mistake. The other one, he didn't see Dante.
And regardless of what New England does, that will not change.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Because they do not have the talent. And I know what Belichick's not going to do. He is not going to all-out blitz and put his secondary out there where they can make big plays against you and get big chunks of yardage.
So that is one, as flawed and as bad as the Chiefs' defense is, their two best defensive players are their two pass rushers. Dee Ford in a contract year and Justin Houston, a guy who's won Defensive Player of the Year in this league before, or at least he had 20-plus sack season en route to a $20 million a year contract. So the Chiefs will be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And the other spot where the Patriots have been very bad defensively this year, bottom 6 team in the league, is third down defense. And you got to be able to get off the field against this Chiefs team. We saw it the beginning of the first half. Beginning of the second half, pardon me. Collinsworth said it. Man, this is a must score for Kansas City. They had a 3rd and 2, and they hit Kareem Hunt for a touchdown on that play. The Chiefs defense, the one thing they've been good at is third down defense. We saw it to a degree in the Pats game on that first drive when they forced the Patriots into going for it on 4th down. So even though I agree with you, dead last in yards, that's a problem no matter what. The Pats have their issues as well, and that sack number, that's not, they don't have the reinforcement coming. They don't have Justin Houston coming off the injured list that's going to come to help them out in that regard.
How big is the talent gap between these two? I know we just really touched on it here, but looking at two teams overall, how big is the talent gap between the Patriots and the Chiefs?
This is the thing. If you look at just talent, and we're going to have a strength, a Sparks test and everything, of course Kansas City's going to win. But the one thing that's not important is how talented are you and how good can you play football. And the one thing the New England players hate, and they hate year after year after year, we never give them credit for being good football players. All we talk about is Belichick, his adjustments. All we talk about is Tom Brady. But they got a lot of good football players on that. They know how to win, so that's not foreign to them. So, yes, Kansas City has more pure athletic ability, But Bill Belichick and the way he coaches, the greatest coach in the history of the league, he negates that with getting his team to be able to play, putting his players in the best situation for them to take advantage of their own ability.
And the thing that should concern the rest of the AFC regarding the Pats as far as talent is you saw Tom Brady try to get Josh Gordon involved more earlier this past week. Now, it looked to me like there were 2 times he went to him, and it looked to me both times Josh Gordon wasn't exactly where he was supposed to be, that Brady expected him to cut his route off a little bit shorter, and he went longer. And then there was a pass in the end zone where Collinsworth said on the broadcast, I think he was right, that Brady expects him to sit down in the soft part of the zone, and he just kept going across the field. If Josh Gordon over the next 10 weeks can stay on the field and can get more in sync with Brady, then that's more of a talent equalizer than I anticipated the Patriots being able to bring in midseason.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up on the other side, talk some Cowboys. Has Dak Prescott solved all of Dallas's problems on offense? That's next. Now, first things first. Back here on First Things First, joined by an old friend with new takes, Mark Schlereth.
Good
back
to see
with
you,
us.
Good to see you guys.
What
Always
is
a pleasure
up,
to be
Stink?
with you. I went with the two-hand handshake. You see that?
Yeah,
that's a.
I mean, it was
power
practically
move.
a hug.
Yes, absolutely.
It was warm and endearing. Mark, we're still talking about the Cowboys who managed to pull off the surprise of the weekend, beating the Jags 40-7. That was a surprise. Their offense ran smoothly. That was a surprise. And to top it all off, it was led by Dak Prescott, who used his legs to his advantage, a career-high 82 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown.
He just opened everything up. I mean, as I said, some of it was called runs and just read options, and the end gave us the read to keep it, and then a couple of them were just man-to-man protection or man-to-man coverage, and the protection was solid and able to get out of the pocket and make them pay. So at that point, I mean, they needed to get a spy guy or make some adjustments on their part and just opened up everything for our offense.
All right, Stink, the first couple games, we wanted to see Zeke run the ball more, and then they finally gave him more carries, and we were excited. Then we wanted to see what Dak could do if he was able to run the offense a little bit more his way. He ran for 82 yards, and we were happy. But how sustainable is that? How much of a threat can the Cowboys' offense be if they hand the ball to Dak and ask him to run?
Well, I mean, again, I think the thing you have to understand about this, the integrity of balance. When you have balance, then you have a defense that has to defend multiple things. And when you have that, you can be successful. You take a lot of pressure off an offensive line. So I think that's a big issue with them right now. How sustainable is it? Well, how willing is Dak Prescott to take care of himself? How willing is he to slide down and not take a hit? Because and my opinion has probably changed on this over time. I think it can be sustainable. If he had, I think, 11 carries. If, 5 or 6 of those are designed runs. But when you're running read option stuff, you're just reading a defensive end. And then you're getting around the edge without, you'll see everything in front of you. You're not getting blindsided. It's not like you're running quarterback counter between the tackles. So I think it's a sustainable thing for them. I think the biggest thing is it takes pressure off that offensive line. When you're able to run play-action game like that. And I always think about it this way. I always wanted to know every quarterback's drop and how long that quarterback was going to hold the ball for on a particular pass route. So I knew anything that was a deep over, I knew that, that's a 7-step drop. That's going to take some time. All go is a 5-step drop. The ball's going to be out like that. So in a 5-step drop where I know the ball's out, man, I can attack the line of scrimmage. I can actually run block that. And even if I whiff, they're not getting to my quarterback because the ball is out so quickly. So when you have the integrity of balance, you have an opportunity to take an offensive line that's been marginalized to some degree because of injury and because of young players and make them really good, make them look like they can shine. And that's really what happens when you have that going on like they have in Dallas last week against Jacksonville.
The thing that NFL teams do adjust. Is it sustainable? To me, no. So I disagree with Mark. And the reason why is there's only 2 quarterbacks in the recent NFL era that have been able to do it and do it successfully. And the reason why is because they're freaks of nature. Recently, Cam Newton, when his MVP season, he's the only guy that's been able to do it. He's also the best running quarterback in the history of this game. Well, people say, well, what about Michael Vick? Michael Vick was able to do it and take his team to the promised land, say get to the Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick, the other guy, only guy that could do it. Why? He's a freak, 6'5", 225, 230, and neither one of these guys, Cam a little more so than Cap, they don't get hit square an awful lot. So that has a lot to do with it. Deshaun Watson, we saw him last week's game. Man, he got banged around. He talking about, oh, I can do this. No, you can't.
There's
only a couple people that have been able to do it, so that's the reason why, yes, you can win a game or two. Yeah, you might be able to win your division. Yeah, you might be able to get through the wild card round. But in the end of it, Cam Newton, what brought him down? The rush of the Denver Broncos and his inability to throw the ball down the field. Colin Kaepernick had one play to be able to win the Super Bowl, throw a fade pattern to Michael Crabtree. He couldn't be able to do that. So ultimately, at the end of it, the guys that win and win big in this league, they do it from the pocket. So if the Dallas Cowboys, as long as Dak is their quarterback, if they want to run him, no, you might win a couple games. But as a fan of the ultimate, the Super Bowl, you're not going to be able to win the Super Bowl. And why? Because the history of this league, it tells us that, and it's proved out to be in 2018. It's more important to have a passer than ever.
The score of this game is misleading to how the Cowboys offense actually worked. They scored 40 points. You would think, okay, in today's NFL, you score 40 points down the field passing. It's not what happened at all. The reason why I would temper my enthusiasm a bit if I were the Cowboys, despite Dak's performances, Dak's rushing threat didn't add to their passing attack. He's right at around his average for the year, which is sub 200 yards per game. It all is going to come back. We can ask this question a lot of different ways. It's going to come back to the same answer. Right now, the Cowboys, what is their problem on offense? They have a quarterback who at this moment is limited, throwing the football down the field, and they have the least explosive group of wide receivers in the NFL. I had San Francisco on that list. Well, not anymore. I saw Goodwin be a track star last night, and Pierre Garçon would be a clear #1 on Dallas. We thought Allen Hurns might be able to get 1,000 yards. He would, 1,000 yards for the rest of his career in Dallas is what he's projecting to. Go ahead.
Dallas Cowboys have been playing football for a long time. This is the worst group of wide receivers they ever had in the history of the team. So their quarterback is going to have to run based on the lack of explosive players that they have.
So one of the things that you get into, though, is to create a passing game. You don't want him throwing more than 25, 27 balls a game. Sure. You just don't. So one of the things about their play action with him running in that threat, there are so many things. Like play action to me is a way to suck up underneath coverage, and you're just throwing one receiver routes to a hole. Like that's how the whole X drift, how the Washington Redskins with RG3, 1,000 yards passing during the course of a season with RG3 when he was Rookie of the Year on X drift. And it's a one route throw, 1,000 yards. And that throw is 92% complete. You can't cover it. It's a two-man route. And you've got one guy as your primary. That's it. That's all you're looking at. And they were able to create that. And what you're doing here for Dak Prescott is you're saying, we're going to create, if you're throwing it 25 times, we're going to create at least 12 to 14, 15 automatic completions. You walk into the game, you'll be 12 for 12 doing this. And then it's just what you do on your dropbacks. If you can complete 50% of your dropbacks and we run the ball with this threat, we're going to win. And this is our style. Now, I'm 100% with Cece. Like, if you're just saying, hey, Dak, run around like Cam Newton does, eventually you're going to break ribs and you're going to get, you'll puncture a lung and you won't play very long. And the difference between, like, Russell Wilson is great at this. Russell Wilson going into last week, and I haven't watched their game in London yet, but I had their game before. He had one carry, one rushing off a read zone on the whole season. He carried it one time.
One designed run.
One designed run. The others were just scrambles that he had to get out of the pocket. One designed run on the season going through 5 weeks.
And Dak is not as good an athlete as Russell Wilson.
No.
It's not as fast.
Then let me just ask it differently. How much does the threat of him running help open up the offense?
Well, this is the thing. The NFL teams are going to change. The reason why it worked this weekend, Jacksonville played a lot of man-to-man. When you're playing man-to-man, when the receiver runs off, the DB, his eyes go with the wide receiver. He's not looking at the quarterback. But let me tell you what you do with a 3-man to 4-man rush. You take 8 guys and all 8 sets of eyes and keep them on the quarterback. You drop 7 guys in the coverage. You rush 4, and you got 7 sets of eyes on the quarterback. That's why you're not able to do this over the course of a season, and that's why in the playoffs you're not able to advance. Because even if you play action, the linebackers, it's not as distinct of a fake, because the linebackers aren't playing the running backs man-to-man.
Because prior to this week, historically, Blake Bortles was a more effective runner than Dak Prescott. The quarterback in that game, going into that game, who had a better history of running the football successfully, was Blake. Dak's career high rushing was 45 yards. So as much as the Cowboys talked about it, I would imagine Jacksonville, you talked about how you would have your team at least once a quarter, once every quarter of a season, once every 4 games, throw you a go route.
Yes.
Just so the other team had in their film study,
4-game study,
they have to worry about it. There's no 4 or 14-game study prior to this past week where a team playing Dak's like, man, he might run the ball a dozen times.
Let's just go back to the beginning of the season. Everything with the expectation with Dallas, with their lack of playmakers, which one of these guys is going to evolve? Imagine we had the same storyline, same question we have right now. Well, Dak's going to run more. Would we have been excited about that before the season? No. This is the way this offense is evolving because of Dak's inability to be able to throw the football. Now, Stink makes a great point. 65 to 70 NFL plays, all right? So I know I got 35 runs in there, baked in there no matter what.
Right.
It's them other 5 to 10 plays. What do I do with those? Because if you give those to Dak, he goes from throwing it 25 times to 35 times. So I understand what Stink is trying, because as a game plan, we're trying to get through them 65 to 70 plays and give yourself the best chance of winning, which that would. But once you get to the playoffs, when you have to be more explosive, your margin of error becomes real small.
All right, let's take a break. Mark, stick around. Much more on this and other things.
Yeah, I left them duck mouth, all of them.
We all were. We were like, oh. Le'Veon Bell turned some heads with his latest decision. Wait till you hear. It's next on First. Thursday Night Football returns this week as Von Miller and the Broncos battle Josh Rosen and the Cardinals. It all starts at 7:30 Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime
Broncos
Video.
need you, dog. You're going to be playing Thursday and calling the game on Sunday.
Yes.
Speaking of dog, back here with Mark Schlereth, right? That's
Speaking of dog.
He said they need you, dog. So I'm just
leave that on their corner.
They need some dogs is what they need.
Gosh.
You right?
All right, I'm going to just talk from this corner. Stories to start your morning.
Great
Chiefs,
idea.
Pats.
Bruh, you just had bruh down.
From Sunday, I'll stick with bruh and leave dog aside. Kansas City linebacker Breeland Speaks appeared to let go of Tom Brady before the Pats quarterback ran into the end zone for a touchdown Sunday night. Speaks said that the new rules were on his mind during the play, but that he does have to finish the play. CC, what do you make of this?
Yeah, we've seen this happen before, but the emphasis on the quarterbacks and landing, I can understand. But more importantly, they had defensive pass interference. They would have had first and down on the 1 yard line anyway. It was 3rd down and 4. Scandrich was holding in the back of the end zone, so they still would have scored on 1st down.
No, I'll tell you, don't be stupid. Tackle a guy.
Absolutely.
Sack a guy. I mean, how can you be thinking about the rules? How about thinking about your job?
Hold on. The NFL wants them to be thinking about the rules while they're doing their job.
The job's moving a little too fast.
Yeah.
Okay, but they are expecting the guys
that's
while
a lie.
falling.
That's a lie.
No, when you're trying to make a play, you're just trying to make a play.
I
Stop
don't think
it.
the good people in the league office would lie to us.
Okay.
Next up, Steve.
Hey, Troy, stop lying to the people, bro.
You were in Denver.
Appropriately used.
Yes, I was.
That was good. Well, you can say it all the time, and it's appropriate. You were in Denver to see the Broncos lose to the Rams. You called the game. Broncos have now dropped 4 in a row. Coach Vance Joseph says, quote, everyone is fighting for our lives. Stink, how bad are things in Denver right now?
Well, they're bad. I mean, you can't lose 4 in a row. Couple that with last year losing 8 in a row. I think Vance Joseph is 1-10 on the road since he got there as the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And then you go to the Jets and you absolutely get ramshackled. I mean, you gave up 323 yards rushing. The first team in history to give back-to-back rushers for 200 yards. Is it bad? Yeah, everybody's on alert. Everybody's job is on point right now.
Everybody except John Elway. John Elway, just like his quarterback, he got that head coach thing wrong. I hate to say it, everyone ain't cut out to be no head coach. And I don't believe that the Broncos have one as far as their head coach. First guy probably to get fired right there in
Listen,
Denver.
If they lose Thursday to Arizona and Josh Rosen, a quarterback they could have drafted 5, by the way, then I don't know if Vance Joseph survives it to the next week at Kansas City.
All right, and the latest with Le'Veon Bell, reports were that Bell would show up sometime this week. The thinking was that he'd show up in Week 7, the Steelers' bye week, get paid, and then actually play in Week 8. But now it's being reported the Steelers are not expecting Bell to return this week after all. Stink, what do you make of all this?
It is so interesting to me that we as players have all fought to make the league better, that we could get paid, that we could get taken care of, that we could get insurance, that we could get all these things. And here's a guy fighting for his right to get paid, to get a long-term deal, not a fake long-term deal, but a real long-term deal with guaranteed upfront money. And the players in that organization have sided with the league. I've never, ever at any time in my life seen that. And then now it's like, oh, well, why doesn't Le'Veon want to be here? I wouldn't want to play with you guys either. I wouldn't. I mean, why would I want to play with you, a bunch of Benedict Arnolds? I have never in my life, and you can sit there and say, this is why, to me, the Steelers are one of the most talented teams in the National Football League, and they'll win a lot of games. But when push comes to shove, and you got to go to New England or you got to play a tough team, you're going to get beat.
But Stink, this is the thing: when you have miscommunication, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that happened here. When you go to your brothers in the locker room, and the reason why it seems as if the offensive linemen are on the side of the organization or on the side of the league is because you told me something else. So it's hard for me to represent you when you tell me you're going to be there at the beginning. If you had told me that you're going to be, man, I'm not coming this year. They're not going to give me a long-term deal. I'm not going to be there till week 10. You know what I would have said, bro? Fight. For you and for your family. No problem. We got a clear line. And then I wouldn't have been disappointed in week number 1 when I go to do an interview and be like, yeah, man, my man's going to be here in a couple days. So you made me look bad.
Right.
So I didn't side with the organization. I sided with, I got a job to do, a job you don't want to do. All right? So I got to go out and take care of my family. I'm an independent contractor. I can only support you when you and I are on the same page. So them not being on the same page, it would give the image of, man, they're supporting the organization, but I'm supporting myself.
Right.
I got a job to do. I got my own career. I can't put my career on hold for you and what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely understand that. And my point would be that I'm not going to say anything. Because I am,
no doubt.
I will keep, I understand that you're disappointed that you want to play with a guy. That's fine. You got his number, text him. Say, dude, man, I miss you. I wish you were here. Understand what you're doing. But to be prepared to play a game, and that's what you're talking about, and you're talking about a guy and his money and what he's going through. And, oh, by the way, yeah, I was going to come, but then my agent, told me, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Maybe my agent said, hey, listen, man, I have a deal worked out for you right now. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't leave the house. So I just have never seen anything like it. I just think it's dysfunctional, and it really, that part of it bothers me.
Well, I obviously wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Le'Veon Bell is fighting for something, whether he recognizes it or not, and whether or not the discussion recognizes it or not, greater than he is. He is essentially trying to set a line in the sand, whether he knows it or not, for players across the league of his caliber that get franchise tagged.
Right, but he's not, though. And the reason why is because his stats are totally different. It's not his rushes. It's not his carries. It's not his touchdowns. It's all the other information that they have in his file. The reason why they won't pay him the franchise fee. So you can't represent a group of people that Todd Gurley's not like him. Ezekiel Elliott's not like him. Kareem Hunt's not going to be like him.
Because they don't have the suspension.
Well, Zeke does. Zeke has a
it's totally different
because he's not one drug test away from missing a year. I understand that. But that's not the point I'm making, see. I'm not saying that the reason that he's not getting paid is like why other guys wouldn't get paid. What I am saying is whomever the next great player, because he's a great player, that a team that is a Super Bowl contender is considering franchise tagging, I think they will have in their calculus, man, What if he sits out 10 games? Because that's always what a franchise player could do. And we hadn't seen someone do it, since Vincent Jackson? We'd seen one guy do it in the last 15 years in this league, a guy get franchise tagged and actually make the team pay the price of, okay, I'm not going to show up for the first 65% of the season. And so Le'Veon Bell is not the perfect messenger. He does have miscommunication with teammates. He does have a checkered drug history. He has done some things that I think make him a hard person to root for at times.
Well, could you understand how the organization would perhaps not want to sign him to a long-term deal?
That's
because
their prerogative.
Exactly, that's their prerogative.
And this is right, but, this is his prerogative.
Right. Here's the issue, though. I don't have any problem with you not wanting to sign him to a long-term deal.
Exactly.
I don't. I understand. I understand the consequences. I understand that he's one failed drug test away from not playing. I understand the suspensions. I understand that he's had injuries. I understand all that stuff. But don't act like you gave him a $70 million contract that was market value, because your contract was about $12 to $15 million short on guaranteed money compared to the other running backs that are comparable. And that's the issue. Don't throw it out in the media like, oh,
that
look,
they offered
there's
you 5 years, $70 million when they offered him a year-to-year contract.
Right. And so I don't know about the world you live in, but the world I live in, $12 million or $15 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and that's generational type money that one guy in Todd Gurley has over Le'Veon Bell when they're two, comparable players. And that's the issue. So I don't care if you don't want to sign him, but don't act like, hey, look at what we did for you.
Right.
We gave you a series of one-to-one year deals, and oh yeah, it's quite a bit less guaranteed money, but look how great we are. We gave you $70 million. That's fake money. That's monopoly money.
All right, let's move on to the Rams now. A game, again, you called this weekend, Stink. Rams-Broncos, a balmy, 27 or so?
So yeah, 25 a kick.
Did you have to wear long sleeves? Lucky you. You had
I wore a
front
coat.
row seat. Did you wear a coat?
Yeah.
Front row seat to the Todd Gurley Show. A career-best 208 rushing yards, 3 scores, and most importantly, the win. His teammate Robert Woods called Gurley unstoppable. The Rams now improved to a league-best 6-0, the last remaining undefeated team in the league. Mark Schlereth, how big is the gap now between the Rams and the rest of the teams in the NFC?
I think it's fairly large. I think one of the things that's interesting about the Rams is I think people look at them, this potent, high-flying offense with 3 wide receivers. They're in a 11 personnel, 3 wides almost 100% of the time. And they give you the illusion, it's the illusion of complexity. They give you the illusion that they're this big-time passing offense and they're going to cut you up in the passing game, when really they just want to thunder punch you right in the face. I mean, they just want to hit you in the lips. And they do a great job of it. They do have the weapons outside. They do have Sean McVay and Jared Goff do a great job of pushing the ball down the field, and they have a bunch of layered route concepts, and they just attack zones. They do a great job in the passing game. But at their core, they're a big-time physical group. Their offensive line is absolutely just punishing people right now. And they're a great team, and they are head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC teams right now.
Imagine Kansas City with Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald. Because that's who the Rams are.
And Marcus Peters, who they used to have.
Yeah, well, I just want to just keep it nice and simple.
Sure.
I'm just going to give you that explosive offense and just give you two guys with a mean disposition, and just how that would change your perspective on Kansas City, how it would have changed the perspective Kansas City in that game going against Tom Brady. So they do have the ability to be able to slow teams down a little more so than we've seen with explosive teams that we've had in the past. So I think there's a huge gap. The problem is there's so many quarterbacks in the NFC that on a given Sunday can get hot. Drew Brees can get hot, carve you up for 380, 400. Cam Newton can get 280, run for 110 to be able to beat you. So there's a number. I believe the Vikings will be better at the end of the season. They get some type of running game with Dalvin Cook. I believe there is a margin right now. But when you have a quarterback or you have special type players that I believe are in the NFC, I believe when you get in that tournament, it still makes it very, very dangerous. I also believe that it's important that the Rams can stay undefeated as long so that their fan base senses it's a special season, because at home field advantage, going to Los Angeles. No one knows what that would be like. But I just believe football in January in L.A. would be pretty special if they had a 15-1 season, 14-1 regular, so that the momentum continues into the postseason. I believe that becomes very, very important to make sure that no one wants to come to the Coliseum in January.
And how big's the gap? Well, they have 6 wins. The second best team in the NFC has 4. So, I mean, that's a pretty big gap through 2 weeks to have to be 2 wins clear of the field. I think that is about where it is. I think that's about accurate. New Orleans probably the second best team. They're the only other 4-win team. And then you got a bunch of teams that are 3-2, 3-2-1, a bunch of teams that, like, I think the Vikings can be really good. But we also saw big warning signs about their running game that they have not answered and about their defense that they're starting to answer.
But we also saw them head-to-head.
Yes.
And the Minnesota Vikings not playing well looked like a good football team when they were going against the Rams.
Absolutely, which is why I think the home field is the biggest point of this, because it's not only about where you don't have to go, but it's about where those explosive quarterbacks don't get to play. We know Aaron Rodgers can win a game in the snow. We don't know if Jared Goff can. Right. We know Drew Brees can carve you up in his dome. We know he's a different player in the outdoors. So for all those reasons, I totally agree. The 1 seed for them is of critical importance.
By the way, under Sean McVay, 11-1 away from home, 10-1 on the road, and 1 game in London. So 11-1 away from home. They've lost their games at home in Los Angeles. But I will tell you this, defensively, you mentioned Donald, you mentioned Sue. Unbelievable. Edge pass rush is an issue for them.
Yes.
But when they get Aqib Talib back, Aqib Talib is one of the smartest football players in the National Football League. He actually meets weekly with Sean McVay to go over strategy. And I mean, this guy is phenomenal. And he's the soundtrack of that defense, and they have missed him, and yet they're still 6-0 without one of their number 1 players. And he has made a huge impact on Marcus Peters and the rest of that defensive secondary. So that's something to watch. When they get him back healthy, that is a formidable defense that's struggled here the last couple of weeks.
All right, Stink, stay with us. Coming up, did Aaron Rodgers prove he is the best quarterback in the NFL last night? That's next. Not first and first. Mark Schler, Packers hosting the Niners last night. Picked this up with Green Bay trailing in the 4th. Yep, trailing. Under 2 minutes to play. Rodgers hits Davante Adams in the end zone to tie it at 30. Rodgers 425 passing yards, 2 scores. Next drive, C.J. Beathard picked off by Kevin King. That left too much time for Rodgers. Less than 10 ticks to go. Rodgers hits Adams. He had 132 yards on the night, and that set up Mason Crosby. A week after he missed 5 kicks against the Lions, Crosby nails the game winner as time expires. Green Bay goes on to beat the 49ers 33-30. Here is Aaron Rodgers on his kicker's redemption.
It's very apropos. What he went through last week, and the team to stick with him, and the guys to kind of wrap our arms around him and encourage him the way that we do for our teammates was great. And then he responded. You know, the crowd I thought was very encouraging. I was trying to figure out at first if it was kind of a sarcastic cheer, but I felt like it was a pretty heartfelt encouragement after he made 4 field goals and 3 extra points. So he was obviously very happy afterwards, and we're very happy for him.
All right, Stink, are you more impressed with Aaron Rodgers was able to do at the end, or are you more worried and concerned that this game came down to the very end against C.J. Beathard and the 49ers?
Yeah, as injured as they are, and Kyle Shanahan is a really, really good coach. And he puts his players in great positions to win. They're a physical football team. They'll run it. I really have a lot of respect for them in that regard. I'm more concerned about the Green Bay Packers. And, you got to think about this. Now, they fired 5 coaches in the offseason, 3 on the defensive side, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Aaron Rodgers was not happy about firing the quarterbacks coach. And you're in a situation, and this happens to great quarterbacks. I think Peyton Manning was in this. I used to say all the time back in the day when Peyton Manning was with the Colts, I'm like, he covers so many warts that you think you're a lot better than you really are. They're an 8-8 talent, that are 12-4 every year because of the warts that guy covers. And then I was way off because he left with a neck injury and they went 2-14. I was like, no, you guys are like way less talented than I thought you were. I think it's an issue. I think you create this scenario where that guy plays so well that you think your team is better than it really is. And I think, Ted Thompson was another guy they removed from being the general manager. So that's a big concern for me. This team, the San Francisco is beat down. You've got to step on the throats of the people that are beat down at home.
At home, going into your bye, knowing, because Rodgers said it after the game, he knows what's coming up after the bye.
Right.
How about you go to the Rams and to the Patriots in back-to-back weeks? This was a must-win, gotta-have-it game at home, extra day to prepare, and you need Aaron Rodgers magic? Come on. Like, that is...
But that's what they need every week.
Right. I'm glad...
To win, they need him to be magical.
I'm glad you brought up the Colts, because here's something that's unfortunate, but it's a reality of Peyton Manning's era with the Colts. That was an underachieving era. Not by Peyton, but by the organization. You have Peyton Manning for the better part of 15 years. You make the Super Bowl twice. You win it once. How does that happen? Tell you how it happens. Because you have the ultimate Band-Aid that you decide, okay, we can make it work with this guy. But at least Peyton had Marvin Harrison, then Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, and then Robert Mathis. At least he had some guys that we can say, okay, there's a couple gold jackets playing alongside him. Aaron Rodgers got nothing like that. And at least Peyton had Tony Dungy. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that either. Like, you made the point, C, to give Kyle Shanahan and C.J. Beathard credit, and I would like to do that. With that said, C.J. Beathard prior to last night, under Kyle Shanahan, was 1-6 with a 71 rating and 56% completions. Like, he has the best game of his life as a pro. Last night against the Packers, what does that say about the Packers? It says that they're Aaron Rodgers and some guys.
Yeah. David Blaine, you guys familiar with him, right?
Yeah, the magician.
He's an illusionist. Not a magician, sure. Illusionist, right? That's what Aaron Rodgers does for Green Bay. And ever since he's come there, and I remember the first time I saw David Blaine, and it was amazing because he was in the Cowboys locker room. Michael Irvin, prime time, they were in the locker room, and he made a guy levitate. And they ran out of the locker room. Every time I see Aaron Rodgers, I expect, just like Blaine, I want to at least see a man levitate. Because I've seen it before. That's my expectation. I've already seen him before. I know what he does. Every time I see him, he's on TV and he has a special. He does a bunch of other stuff, goes into an aquarium, all that kind of stuff, get chained up. I want to see somebody come off the ground. Because my expectations, I've seen him do it. Aaron Rodgers
You just like this.
Yep.
Just wait.
When you gonna get to the good part?
When you get to
Aaron Rodgers,
somebody.
I expect a 2-minute drive. Not once, twice. The same thing he did last night. Yeah, I'm not going to say I wasn't impressed. 425 yards. First time in NFL history, quarterback, back-to-back game, 400 yards and no interceptions. Yes, but I saw him make people come off the ground. This is what Aaron Rodgers does for this organization, and you're right. We think they're better than what they are. Is this really a Super Bowl caliber team?
Only because of what you said earlier, which is he can get hot for a month. They need him to play at this level for a month and to get a little lucky. Like, that is what they have to do to win a Super Bowl.
What has to happen then for the team to look and say, you know what, this isn't enough. It's not sustainable. We can't rely on him in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left every single time. Like, what has to happen? Because he was out last year, and you saw what happened with the team, and they said, oh, we don't need to fix anything. As soon as he comes back, we'll still be good again.
It's just too early in the season, and he's a good football coach, but ultimately, the general manager, right, he no longer resides there.
No.
They got rid of how many coaches?
5.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers not going anywhere.
Right.
Next conversation, Jenna's about the head coach. That's the only thing you can conversate about. We've got draft capital. We got DBs. We spent some rush for some rush guys. They have not developed. We changed some of the coaching staff. We got Aaron to the end of his career as far as his contract. The next conversation is about that head coach. Is he the guy that makes the difference for that organization? As Mangini says, is he a force multiplier? And for us, there's still huge question marks as far as how do the Green Bay Packers actually move forward and improve.
I think one of the things you have to understand, when you pay a quarterback that much money, and he's making a ton of money, and that eats up that much of your salary cap, what you have to have, and make no bones about this, just because you coach in the NFL does not mean you're a good coach. There are a lot of bad coaches in the NFL.
There are.
That have survived.
We can do a bunch of shows.
Right, that have survived because it's an old boys network, okay? So there's a lot of bad coaching. You had better figure out how you're going to develop young players, because the way it operates, I call it the 70-30 rule. 30% of the guys make 70% of the money.
Yep.
That's how your cap operates right now. Your cap, essentially, 70% of your cap is eaten up by
your top
10
8 guys.
8 guys
Yes.
in your 53. So you damn well better have coaches that can teach young players how to play at a high level in this game. That's what sets the New England Patriots apart. It's exactly what sets the New England Patriots apart. Why? Why do they go 2-2 every September and enter the Super Bowl? Because they take a bunch of young players, they coach those guys up, they teach them how to play football, they develop them during the course of the season, and at the end of the day, you watch them, you're like, yeah, not the most talented team, but damn, they're disciplined.
They play football.
They squeeze every
No penalties, accepted penalties, no turnovers.
No
in the
punts.
No punts, yes. And the one turnover Brady fumbled. But getting the team to play like that on a big stage like that is almost impossible.
They get every last, to use one of your favorite terms, drop of juice from the berry.
Yes.
They get the most out of. I know that's not exactly the way you say it.
No, I prefer grapes compared to berries.
Okay, my apologies. Thank you.
Berries are good for a parfait. Grapes are good for wine.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Good point.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I'll leave your phrases to you. I'll stick with that ain't great. However, the point is the Pats have the daily double. They get the most out of their minimum salary guys, and they ain't paying their quarterback $30 million. They're paying him $15, so they have no bad contracts. They have no guys like, we can't get rid of him because he has all this dead money. That's how you can make 8 Super Bowls in around 18 years. The way the Packers can make a Super Bowl is, man, let's hope Rodgers can do this for 3 games in January. That's not a plan. That's a prayer.
Yeah.
All right, Sting, thanks for being back
Great.
today.
My pleasure.
Love
Good
to
to
have
be
you.
with you
Coming
guys.
up,
Thank
who
you,
can
guys.
stop the Warriors from winning another title? The answer next on First Things First. The MLB postseason continues tonight with Game 4 of the NLCS. Manny Machado leads the Dodgers as they try to even the series against Christian Yelich and the Brewers. It all starts at 8:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app, Nick.
Gotta have a game for the Dodgers. They don't win tonight, they can't win the series. But what a cool back-to-back nights for a couple cities of sports fans. Boston fans on Sunday night got to watch the Red Sox win a huge game in the ALCS, flip over, and see
the
Tom Brady
Patriots
lead a game-winning drive. Last night, fans in Wisconsin got to watch their Brewers take a lead in the NLCS, flip over, and watch Aaron Rodgers execute a game-winning drive. Really cool for those two fan bases.
All right.
Tonight, I think the LA fan base gets it. They don't. Just my gut.
Okay, LeBron and the Lakers in just a minute. But first, you got Grundy High School in Virginia. Derek Endicott trucking this poor defender.
My goodness, he lowered the boom on the kid. Glad they didn't have helmet to helmet, though. He did hit him with his shoulder and the forearm. That's still legal in every football league that I know.
That kid bounces, he hits so hard. I mean, he rolls over. Oh.
All right, LaMelo. Overseas action. JBA USA team hits the defender with a nice spin move.
He didn't think it was going in.
No, he thought it was going to be a little short and right. The rebounder is the best chance to rebound the ball is the shooter because he knows where the ball's going.
Yep, follow your shot, young people. It's good fundamental basketball by LaMelo.
Yeah, not a whole bunch of fundamentals in him.
Following your
Nick's
shots.
cheering for you, though.
I am cheering for LaMelo.
You got
All
one
right.
pro in the family. That's pretty good.
Finally, back to last night's game. Aaron Rodgers extending the play, throws a picture-perfect back shoulder pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
DB had great coverage. He's inside the guy's arms, but there is no coverage for a perfect throw. Throws it right at the back of his head, hits the guy, splits his numbers. The guy was getting ready to drop the ball, but the ball said, I'm going to catch you. He almost dropped it.
This was one of the much maligned rookie wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers shouted him and Equanimous St. Brown out after the game as guys that have improved a lot.
All right, time for Drawing a Blank, NBA Preview Edition. Even though LeBron James is on a new team, he is still the odds-on favorite to take home his 5th regular season MVP. So, CC, the NBA MVP this season will be blank.
I'm going with the center. Only 3 centers last 25 years. I'm going with the best center in basketball, Joel Embiid, Philadelphia. What you have to watch for, these other 3 centers when they were MVPs, Shaq, David Robinson, and Akeem, they averaged around 40 minutes a game. So if he can get to 38 minutes, 40 minutes a game, Joel Embiid, MVP, NBA this year.
Thus, it would be interesting and kind of fun to see a center win it because when they first had the MVP, it was only centers. It was Bill Russell, Lou Alcindor, and now it's been, Cece mentioned, 3 times in 25 years, only once in the last 20, and that was Shaq.
Anthony Davis will be in the conversation, but this team don't know how good it'd be. If they're not a playoff team, he's exit as far as being an MVP.
So I like your pick. I'm going to go with the odds-on favorite in LeBron because we got folks, a lot of smart NBA people, that think the Lakers are going to be barely sneaking into the playoffs. If the Lakers win 50 games, unlike the Cavs winning 50 games was considered a disappointment, that was held against LeBron, the Lakers winning 50 games would be considered a huge success. You know he's going to have the best numbers of any player in the league. The question is, will they judge him fairly? This year with Los Angeles, I think they will. I think he gets his 5th MVP in his 16th
Yeah, he don't have the best shorts. He's got those James Worthies on.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's one of the few bad things Russell Westbrook's done is popularize that look.
Moving on to the Defensive Player of the Year. Last season it went to Jazz center Rudy Gobert, who barely beat out Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis. So, Nick, the Defensive Player of the Year this season will be blank.
I'm going with CC's MVP, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid last year almost won it. This is an award that typically when a guy was a very close second, if he's close again, he gets a little boost from the voters. We saw that with Draymond when he finished second to Kawhi Leonard for a couple years. He then got a boost. The minutes point C made about the MVP discussion is the most important one. Joel only played 30 minutes a game last year. He's going to play at least 36 this year. They're going to need him defensively. They're going to be on national TV a ton. I like Joel Embiid for this one.
A lot of big men vying for this award. I'm going with 2 smaller guys. They're going to be competing. Kawhi Leonard. People forgot the glove. Forget about those hand size. He's going to be back in the conversation in Toronto. But who wins it? Draymond Green. Because Cousins is there, all Draymond got to do is play defense this year. So look for Draymond Green to be back up in the conversation and win defensive MVP.
And look for Kevin Durant to think he should have won it.
Last season, the Timberwolves made a big jump, winning 16 more games than the year before. A bevy of teams will look to follow in their footsteps this season and make leaps and bounds in the wins column. CC, the most improved team this season will be blank.
L.A. Lakers. Yeah. And if LeBron gets to that 48-50 win total, the Lakers they're going to win this one fairly easy. Most improved, LeBron with this young talent. Looking forward to they start the season Thursday night?
Thursday night.
Thursday night in Portland.
Listen, the Mavs are a sneaky contender for this, adding DeAndre Jordan, adding Luka Doncic, but the answer is the Lakers. I mean, it has to be the Lakers. They won 36 games last year. We would have expected them to win mid-40s if they didn't add LeBron.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're going to be a 15-plus win improvement. The Lakers are the easy answer. They got to be the answer.
Lakers. All right, Warriors begin their quest to win their 3rd straight NBA title tonight, but they'll have a big target on their backs all season. Nick, the team with the best chance to challenge the Warriors for a title is blank.
If anyone's going to challenge them, it will be the only team that has challenged them since they added Kevin Durant. The only team take them more than 5 games in a playoff series. That's the Houston Rockets. I don't think the Houston Rockets have taken as much of a step back as seemingly everyone else does. The Rockets, we saw them. They had them down. Not quite down for the count, but they had them down. I say the Rockets, to me, are the best choice.
A lot of teams are picking Philadelphia, the Rockets. What I'm concerned about both of those teams is their overall bench. How strong is their bench? When you go against Golden State and they keep Steph Curry and KD on the court, that bench becomes important. I'm going with the team that I know, starting 5 and bench, Boston Celtics. They have the type of depth that it would take to be able to knock Golden State from three-peating. Celtics are my choice.
The Celtics' second string could be a fringe East playoff team if Brad Stevens got to coach that team as well.
It seems like a good time to mention they still have their same general manager. And the NBA season officially starts with 2 games tonight. The Sixers and Celtics.
Officially starts with Jenna hitting on Danny Ainge on national television.
I didn't mention it. I just very subtly brought it up.
I think he's got like 20 grandkids. Not a real hot pawpaw. But go ahead.
Square off in an Eastern Conference semifinals rematch. And the Thunder travel to Oracle to take on the Warriors. All right, CC, the player you're most excited to watch tonight is blank.
For the team, the guy that you're talking about, the guy that's not hot. Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics. That's who I'm excited. Uncle Drew will be back. I think he goes out and sends a message this year. Look at what he did before he got hurt last year. He was on a mission last year. Now, Gordon Hayward being back, this young talent getting that experience. Kyrie, That's what I'm looking to see.
If Kyrie stays healthy, he could get some MVP buzz.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Celtics
I thought
gonna
about
win
it.
55-plus games. Like, he would be an interesting MVP dark horse. I'm going with a player. Just please, for the love of God, young man, hit some jump shots tonight. Just for my job being easier tomorrow. I'm talking to you, Ben Simmons. You and me right now going to have a moment. I got a big bet on you this year, publicly and privately with Chris Carter. I need you to just take a few jump shots. If you make them great, just take a few jump shots, please. For me, can you do that, Ben Simmons? I beg of you. What?
I give you 2-to-1 odds on $500 on every shot he hit outside of 21 feet. How many you think he can make tonight? Outside 21 feet.
So you give me $1,000 if he hits a shot outside of right. So I bet $500. You bet $1,000 if he hits a shot outside of 21 feet. And if he doesn't, I owe you $500.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right.
Locked in.
Can I get some of the action?
Just do the. I'll let you know what's happening.
Okay, that is a rude.
All right. So what's
insulting.
happening? What's happening?
You're putting money down. He's giving you more money if Ben Simmons does some good stuff outside of 21 feet.
Oh, Jenna Wolfe nailed it. She nailed it. See, you got to hold
up is Le'Veon Bell. Hold the LC. You've never held one before. See what it feels like. Yeah. Is Lev Bell making a big mistake? He's leaving. That's next on First Things First. Todd Gurley ran for a career-best 208 rushing yards, 3 scores, and most importantly, the win on Sunday against the Broncos. His teammate Robert Woods called Gurley unstoppable. The Rams improved to a league best 6-0. See, how big is the gap between the Rams and the rest of the NFC?
Oh, I think it's significant. It's significant because there's a lot of teams out there that can score, but typically they have either they can't throw the ball as well or the running attack is not. For them lining up with 3 receivers on the field at all time, for most of about 90% of the time, and Todd Gurley, as Stink said, wanting to thunder punch you, McVay calling the plays. Man, this is the most dangerous team, not only in the NFC, but in the NFL.
Every other team in the league has at least one glaring weakness. The Rams just have a slight weakness, outside pass rush.
Yes.
But they don't have everyone else with the same.
But they got a ferocious inside pass rush.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, there isn't any one thing where, like, if we play the Rams, got to take advantage of this weakness. That's why they're the best team in the NFC and the best team in the league.
It's like one of those, the girl's beautiful, Jenna, but she wears glasses. No problem. I got a doctor, get her some contacts.
I wear glasses.
That's why he said that.
But you're still attractive.
Okay.
You don't throw away the pack. It's just.
So I can come back tomorrow. Moving on to the losing team in that contest, the Broncos, who have now dropped 4 straight. Denver's head coach Vance Joseph said, quote, "Everyone is fighting for our lives." See, how bad are things in Denver right now?
Things are better here, Jenna. Things are better here. The Denver Broncos, as a franchise, there's so much respect. Like, they do things the right way. But John Elway, man, he got it wrong. This ain't the first time either he's gotten it wrong. This head coach, I don't believe that he is head coaching material for the Denver Broncos. I'd be shocked if their head coach makes it through the end of the regular season.
John Elway needs to borrow these Jenna Wolfe glasses in this upcoming draft when he's going to be picking his quarterback to replace Jenna Wolfe's guy.
See, while you sitting there playing with glasses, there's fans out there saying that's an upgrade. Hey, Nick Wright looks good with glasses on. Holla, holla.
I used to wear. Don't get me started on me and not wearing glasses. I wore glasses I didn't even need because I thought it was a good look on TV. Chris Carter told me to take them off a year and a half ago, one of the many things I listened to you on that I shouldn't have. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I want to move on.
Yeah. Your wife told you not to wear the glasses.
That is not accurate.
Let's talk some basketball. The Warriors.
Your wife said grow some hair.
Erroneous.
Warriors begin their quest to win their 3rd straight NBA title tonight. They host the Thunder, who'll be without Russell Westbrook as he recovers from knee surgery. All right, Nick, what are you looking for in this game?
I'd like to see Paul George, and most importantly, I would like to see Steven Adams, who to me was a little disappointing last year. He has the ability to be a game changer against most teams. The Warriors are playing at almost a different level than everyone else. But Steven Adams' defensive presence and physicality can be a game changer. I thought last year he didn't really find his way with Melo being the 3rd option, so I'm going to watch him with Russ being out.
This is only going to be hard for me. I'm going to be up watching, but yeah, I ain't going to be watching as intently. Not the most exciting world champion ring ceremony as far as OKC, because Russ is not there. You bring Russ there with that edge and everything, that makes it a little bit different. I'm more interested to see what kind of design they have for the rings. Does Golden State come out, and what do they look like?
It's a shame that one of the 2 times Golden State's going to play in Oklahoma City this year, one of them Russ in there. It's just bad luck with the timing of his knee surgery.
All right, we'll end with the first game of the season, Sixers at Celtics, a rematch of the Eastern Conference semifinals last season. A healthy Boston team hosting young and hungry Philly. Nick, are these the 2 teams to beat in the East this season?
I believe they are, but I do not want to forget about Toronto, a Toronto team that had the 1 seed last year and got better. Like when you flip out DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard and you bring Danny Green along with him, you got better. But, yes, I believe these are the 2 best teams. What you have is what I think is the best starting lineup in the East in Philadelphia against the deepest team in the East in Boston. You also have the best coach in the East in Boston. This is most people's pick for the Eastern Conference Finals, and most everyone has the Celtics winning that matchup. I'm a man on an island thinking Philly's going to be the best team, but these are definitely the 2 best teams.
Right, there's a few things that I want to watch. Kyrie Irving, how does he flow with Jason Tatum and these young players now that Kyrie's back being healthy? Because when Kyrie played with these players before, they weren't the same players. They didn't have the same experience, and maybe they knew, but we didn't see how they could play on such a high level. How does that transition with Kyrie tapping the ball? You know, is he going to give up the ball? How does the offense run? Joel Embiid in the post for them, is he? I listened to Brett Brown, the interview. He said Joel Embiid's going to play more physical, like an old-style center. He will play on the perimeter and shoot some threes, but he will be in the paint, and Markelle Fultz being the point guard. As athletic as he is, what does he bring to that 76ers? I think it's the right move by putting him in the starting lineup, and their lack of a bench, Nick, concerns you going forward.
Listen, they lost a couple of those guys that were so key for them last year, Marco Bellinelli, Ersan Ilyasova, 2 guys they picked up at the buyout, not even at the trade deadline, the buyout date last year, who were key parts of their rotation. Those guys are gone. They didn't really replace them. They drafted a kid from Wichita State, Landry Shamet, who's supposed to be able to shoot threes, but you can't rely on a late-drafted rookie as to be a part of a championship rotation. On the Boston side of things, Kyrie Irving nor Gordon Hayward have ever played with this version of Jason Tatum. And that's one thing I'm really excited to see.
This version being?
Elite level NBA star, yes. Jason Tatum.
Emerging superstar.
Yeah, like Gordon, obviously, he only played a couple minutes last year before he broke his leg. But Tatum really came into his own once Kyrie got hurt, and the offense had to run through him.
Yeah, Nick is saying that he's playing at such a high level last year. It's a guy who requires plays called and a certain number of shots before you even start the game. Like, yes. We got to get this guy off. He's never played with that version. How did him and Kyrie?
But will he get all that with these 2 back on the court?
I think, listen, this is going to be the hardest juggling act for Brad Stevens.
Yeah, it's harder for Brad and harder for Kyrie. Gordon Hayward's only been the guy 1 year in his NBA career, and he knows that. Compared to Kyrie, he's always been a dominant ball handler. So it's something they got to work out. It's rich people problem.
It's absolutely rich people problems, but it's one of the reasons the Celtics have such a bright future is to see Tatum and Jaylen Brown continue on this upward trajectory. Now, obviously, you want your 2 All-Stars back in Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, but this is where the best coach in basketball, or the second best coach to pop, Brad Stevens, has his work cut out for him as far as making sure you're doing what's best for your team in the here and now, and also looking to the development of your 2 future stars, Tatum and Brown.
All right, let's get back to some football now. The latest with Le'Veon Bell is definitely one of the more interesting chapters in this saga. Earlier this month, reports were that Bell, who's been holding out all season, would show up sometime this week. The thinking was that he'd show up in Week 7, the Steelers' bye week, get paid, and then actually play in Week 8. But now reports are that Pittsburgh is not expecting Al Bell back this week after all. All right, CC, how big of a deal is it if Bell doesn't show up this week?
To me, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the reason why it's not that big of a deal is because I don't know when to expect him. I didn't expect him to come. And the reason why I didn't expect him to come, they had a report that he was coming. Yeah. He didn't say he was coming. Now, I know that he told his teammates he was coming before. And to me, he's used social media, maybe not to his benefit over the last couple years. This is a contract that I'm exhausted talking about. We've never seen a franchise player that resulted in the type of media attention and everything that's on Bell. So, no, it's going to be uncomfortable when he gets there, no matter if he shows up today or he shows up in 2 weeks. Because me, as his teammate, I don't know that I can depend on him. We saw Aaron Rodgers in last night's game, the most critical situation. He decides to scramble and run straight down the middle. He's got a knee brace on that's heavy. He's risking everything by doing that. And the reason why I know Aaron Rodgers is going to do that, because it's something that we as NFL players, that we sign up for, and we know that our buddy is doing the same thing. Bell just told us, man, I'm working for my next year. I don't want my workload to be heavy this year. So now when he gets nicked, now when he gets injured, is he going to do the same thing that I'm going to do? And I'm going to sacrifice my body. I'm going to sacrifice my ability to be able to play for a long time, because in the brotherhood, that's what we signed up for. I don't know what he signed up for now. He's got a different type of agreement. He's trying to preserve his body. There ain't no one else out here trying to preserve their body. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be uncomfortable. He's out here working for himself. He's not out here working in conjunction with the unit.
So I do want to give you credit, because Bell spoke on the record to Jeremy Fowler, and Jeremy Fowler reported direct quotes of Bell saying, I'm going to show up the week of the bye. And I took that as, okay, that's when he's showing up. Jenna took that as, okay, that's when he's showing up. You kept saying, I don't know when he's going to show up.
The reason why, because the head coach said I haven't talked to him, I don't have an update. So when the guy is trying to go through the media and he's going to give you an update compared to his supervisor or his boss, that only takes, and I know they got probably hundreds of texts and conversations through the years, Mike Tomlin, because he's that kind of hands-on head coach. But when the head coach says, I don't have anything to report because I'm not communicating with the player, I think it's up in the air that the player's not going to show up.
Listen, I support the idea of what Le'Veon Bell is doing. I support the idea of a player who's been franchise tagged, withholding, the only leverage he has is withholding his services. That is his right, just like it's the Steelers' right to franchise tag him. I do not think he has handled this properly for his own benefit. Forget the benefit of the Steelers. I don't think his PR has been good on this. I don't think financially, strategically, he's been good on this. You guys thought I was joking, but he could have showed up Saturday and forced the Steelers to either put him on the exempt list. They couldn't have played him, and if they don't do that, they got to pay him his $855,000 for a game he doesn't play in and the bye week. I think he's sacrificing money. I think he's sacrificing his brand, and I do think there are teams that, because of how he's handled this, that might have been suitors if he had just sent out a statement like I think you would have liked week 1 or before. I'm showing up in week 10. This is the stand I'm making. I will keep myself ready to go, and once I show up, I will be all in. I don't think you'd have been mad about this. I don't think you'd have thought, not that you're mad, but I don't think you'd have held it against him if that's what he would have done. I think he's gotten bad advice. I know his agent a little bit. I like his agent. I don't think whether it's his agent or whomever has given him the best financial advice, the best branding advice, and now we don't know what to believe here. He's talked to one reporter, Jeremy Fowler. I believe Jeremy Fowler reported the quotes accurately. It just seems like Bell doesn't even know what he's going to do.
And what does it look like? You said used the word uncomfortable. What does it look like when he does return to the locker room? You said earlier, I mean, it's still a game. They're going to go out and play for each other.
Players are going to greet him.
So
all right, they're going to put the game plan in, and we got work to do. The left guard's got an assignment. Yeah. The left tackle's got an assignment. AB's got an assignment. You go through the initial greeting. He's here. Guys in NFL locker rooms, they deal with uncomfortable better than normal people. All right? So he'll come in. All right? Everyone will say, hey, man, glad you're here and everything. But we still have a normal business. It won't be too much different than their normal day.
The concern would be if he does get hurt, or nicked, as you put it, and whether it's a significant, if it's the type of thing that's not an obvious diagnosis, and he says, I don't think I can go, are people going to think, can you really? Like, can you? Are
There's always going to be that
There's
doubt.
one thing that football teams always do together. We might not eat all together. We might not go to the meetings all together. We might not get treatment, lift weights, and all things together. But when you condition a football team, You condition every man exactly the same way. Now, the skilled guys might run at a quicker time than the big guys, but the amount of sacrifice, it's equal.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we don't allow the quarterbacks not to do running with it, because it don't build a team. So now when we get in the game and I get a little bit winded, am I winded just enough to preserve myself, or do I really have that extra that football players rely on from their teammates to say, man, we're all in this together? You know something? I used to have a saying I'm just going to take it. I used to tell my teammates, in this game, to get me out this game, they're going to have to knock me out. And if you want to see the tempo of how to play, watch how I'm playing. L. Bell can't say that to his teammates anymore. He used to be able to say that, but he can't say it anymore because he's trying to preserve his body and get ready for next season, and I believe it will affect how many teams want him to be in their locker room, because he has showed something as far as his sports character. I can understand the franchise tag. I can understand what Pittsburgh's doing. But from his sports character, will an organization trust him with $50, $60 million guaranteed? That's the question that's going to be posed to him this offseason.
All right, we got to take a break there. Coming up, Tom Brady's got some praise for the Chiefs that you're going to want to hear next on First Things First. Back here on First Things First,
Look
former
who's
NFL
here.
head coach Eric Mangini,
Oh, yeah?
fresh off a haircut. Thanks for joining us. Yesterday was the haircut.
I did get the haircut last week,
Coming
but
back.
Last week. Oh, he said last week.
That was last week?
I mean, I didn't want to
Anyway,
blow you up before.
well, now it all
Great option.
feels good.
Coach, thanks for coming.
Hey, good to be here.
It is rare that we anticipate a great game in the NFL and then get to a great game in the NFL, but that's what happened Sunday night. Chiefs and Pats. New England might have won the game, but the Chiefs certainly put on quite a show on national TV. Patrick Mahomes nearly pulled off a miracle comeback against Tom Brady, leaving quite the impression on the New England quarterback.
They got a good offense. I mean, he delivers the ball. Those guys have a lot of speed. They catch and run with it. Tyreek Hill play there at the end was pretty spectacular. Jump up, catch the ball, and then his ability to accelerate is, there's no one like him in the NFL. He's so talented. So between Kelsey, Hunt, Sammy Watkins, the way Mahomes can throw the ball, it's going to be tough to stop those guys too. So they got a good team. I'm sure they'll be there in the end.
All right, Coach, two teams, two high-powered offenses, two very good coaches. Who do you trust more moving forward, the Patriots or the Chiefs?
Well, this is pretty obvious, right? It's the Patriots. It's not even close when you look at it, because they're going to be able to continue like they've done. Okay, they started the season, didn't go the way they wanted to. They self-assessed, they corrected, they moved forward. They're incorporating Josh Gordon. Each week he's going to contribute a little bit more. They get Edelman back. They're understanding who they need to be. They're playing that way, and each guy is carving out a role in that offense. And as they get more and more tape on their opponents, that's when they become that much more dangerous, because not only do they understand who they are, they understand who they're playing, and they're able to affect that game plan that much more. With Kansas City, we haven't seen what's going to happen with adversity. Patrick Mahomes hasn't gone through a bad game yet. They haven't had to deal with injuries. It's substantial injuries to their key skill players. I want to see what happens when some of that takes place. And with New England, you know what you're going to get. You know that they're going to be able to adjust. You know that they're going to be able to put themselves in a position to be successful. We don't know what Kansas City's going to do.
As much as this pains me, I have to totally agree with Coach Mangini. I think the Chiefs are better than the Pats. I think the Chiefs.
In pain a lot.
I think the Chiefs are.
Ever since he met you. Reoccurring heartburn.
I think the Chiefs' A+ game is better than the Pats' A+ game. But their ability to deliver a B game in the playoffs or better, of course you have to believe in New England. You said it yesterday. I thought it was a really interesting point you made when I pressed you on Carson Wentz. And you said, I'd like to see him play in a playoff game first. We've never seen Pat Mahomes play in a playoff game. Whenever Tom Brady plays in his first playoff game this season, it'll be roughly like the 35th biggest game of his career up to that point. We know the moment's not going to be too big for Brady. What I thought was a fair criticism of Mahomes in Sunday night was he had a touchdown open to Kareem Hunt on a wheel route early that he missed. It wasn't because there was pressure on him. He just flat missed it. I can't prove it was nerves, but it sure felt like he was a little amped up for the game. The Chiefs as a team, what's their most recent playoff memory? Blowing a 3-score lead at home to the Titans and Marcus Mariota. Even though Patty didn't play in that game, he saw it and the other players did. What's the Pats' most recent memories? Oh, coming back against the Jags, almost coming back against Philly, the epic Super Bowl comeback against Atlanta. And as great of a coaching resume as Andy Reid has, the one yeah but on it is game management and playoff management, playoff success. And so that's the opposite of the yeah but with Belichick. That is where he is the greatest in the history of the league, not just playoff success, but game management. So for all those reasons, you have to trust the Pats more, even if you agree with me that the Chiefs are the more talented team and that the Chiefs' A game is better than the Pats' A game.
Well, you made an interesting point earlier that, yes, the Chiefs may be more talented, but it doesn't necessarily mean they play better football. That the Patriots know how to play football, even though their personnel might not be as talented as the Chiefs.
Right. I think that, Nick, we had a couple conversations this morning just about talent, about guys throwing the football, and a guy's a thrower of the football compared to being a quarterback. And there's a big difference. Yep. Josh Allen, we know that he can throw the football. But is he going to be a quarterback? Trubisky in Chicago, we know he can throw the football. Carr, we know he can throw the football, but ultimately, is he going to be? I know this is what they teach, and that's what's more important. That's why they don't go for the big combine measurables as far as height, weight, things like that. They go for other things. What can they learn? What can they do? From a skill set standpoint that would be an asset to our team. So the one thing I like about New England is they're playing well offensively and Gronk is not dominating. So he's playing a small role, drawing coverage. They're going away from that. Edelman a couple of weeks back. You mentioned Josh Gordon. His role is only going to increase and become even more valuable. Hogan knows what he's got to do week in and week out. So, yes, they're good at playing football, which is more important than talent because of the way they're going to coach it up week in and week out, Coach.
And each guy's kind of carved out a role, too. Dorsett's played better than he had. Cordell Patterson, he has his type of plays that they use. James White, Sony Michel, each guy has a role in that offense, and then they find a way to maximize that role. What's hard as a coach and what's hard as a team is to learn how to deal with success and how to deal with failure. And you have to learn both of those things because both of those things can hurt your ability to continue to grow. And right now with a young quarterback, when he hits 2 or 3 games in a row where it's not going well or maybe they continue to win and the pressure mounts from a success standpoint. How does he handle that? How do they collectively handle that? And it's a skill that has to be taught and learned.
The biggest question mark on the Patriots right now, and I don't even know if it's a question mark, it's just a weakness. They're dead last in the NFL getting to the opposing quarterback. They're dead last in sacks. I don't see that the guy coming that's going to fix that. They don't have a Justin Houston coming off the injury report that's going to come in. As a defensive-minded coach, if you have a team that through 6 games is having that much trouble getting to the opposing quarterback, is there a way to cauterize that wound? Is there a way, even if you can't fully fix it, to improve on it?
Well, it was never looked at in that perspective of, okay, we've got a sack problem. It was always looked at as, do we have a game plan problem? Sometimes if you're going to push coverage where you're double teaming the tight end and maybe you're taking away the key receiver and you know you're going to rush with 3 guys or you're going to keep the guy in the pocket, you may be giving up sacks. But it's not about those numbers. It's more about the game plan specific things. Are you executing those? The problem I see is they tie the game or they go up and then they give up a 75-yard touchdown in the first play. I mean, Stink talked earlier about covering warts. Tom Brady covered a lot of warts for the Patriots' defense and special teams.
All right, Coach, stick around. Much more to come. Did Aaron Rodgers prove he is the best quarterback in the game last night? That's next.
Coach's favorite topic.
All right, Monday Night Football, Packers hosting the Niners. We picked this up with Green Bay trailing in the 4th quarter. Under 2 minutes to play. Rodgers finds Davante Adams in the end zone. We're tied at 30. Next drive, C.J. Beathard picked off by Kevin King. All right, less than 10 seconds to go. Rodgers finds Adams, 132 yards on the night, and that set up Mason Crosby. A week after Crosby missed 5 kicks against the Lions, he nails the game winner as time expires. Packers go on to win 33-20 to 30. Coach, Are you more impressed with how Aaron Rodgers played at the very end, or are you more concerned that it took every last second for them to beat C.J. Beathard and the 49ers?
Well, hearing people talk about this game, and they keep coming back to C.J. Beathard and the 49ers, and they're 1-4, and it's right before the bye week. It's that type of conversation that happens in a locker room that creates a game like we had last night, where the team is sitting around going, they're 1-4. They're traveling across country. It's the week before our bye. They've got their backup quarterback.
I'm going to take my brace off potentially after the bye week. I'm going to ask the doctor.
Yeah, you start thinking about things besides the professional football team that's coming in, and as soon as you underestimate anybody in the NFL, you've got real problems. And a lot of times it's about somewhere in the third quarter when they wake up and think, oh, we're in a game. We need to do something. But you fired up the other team. You've given them life. You've given them hope. And the whole dynamic changes. And you're in a dogfight when you probably shouldn't be. Now, Aaron Rodgers, did I think that what he did is impressive? Yeah, but he's pretty consistent with his ability to do things like that. And as soon as they got the ball back and they were in that first draw and they picked up 10 yards, like, uh-oh, they've got a real problem here.
Yeah, and that's not a great defense he was going against. Like, I wasn't surprised at all. I was surprised that it came down to that.
Yeah.
These great quarterbacks, if you watch them, you watch these 2-minute drills, you can't hit the quarterback, you can't jam him after 5 yards. Well, there ain't no way to stop knowing the 2-minute drive. All right? If you look at Drew Brees, look at what Brady did Sunday night, look what Aaron did twice last night. These 2-minute drives, man, they are a joke in this football.
Hold on. But with that said, see, you were saying before the game, there were things the Niners on that last of the 2-minute drives, the game-winning drive, that defensively they could have done smarter. That they were playing their defense like they were up 4 instead, like only a touchdown would beat them rather than a field goal.
When you're playing a mobile quarterback, you cannot play 2-man, where the guys are taking away the inside and playing underneath the shallow routes, because it gives away the sideline, the out, and it gives away the quarterback run. What Aaron Rodgers see? He looked to the wide receivers on the first one. He wasn't going to throw that ball. Ran straight up the middle, the biggest play to be able to get those. You got to be able to stop guys at the beginning of those 2-minute drives. I haven't seen any pressure of late in the NFL. When they start these 2-minute drives, they think, oh, we're going to play conservative, and those prevent defenses are preventing teams from getting guys off the field at the end of these games.
Well, what happened, you heard Aaron Rodgers talk about in the post-game press conference, that first play when they were backed up.
They were playing for overtime.
Yeah, and those plays are called, you stick your toe in the water. So you run a play. If the play hits for 10 yards or more.
You're trying to get one first down.
Yeah, but if the first play hits, suddenly everything changes dramatically, and that's what happened. They ran the ball, it hit, things changed. Now they're in a true 2-minute mode. The other thing is you get a illegal contact penalty on 3rd and 15. To me, that there's
What led to that play, Coach? It's 3rd and 15.
Sherman decided he was going to go into the slot, and he was going to take away the receiver, and he was going to tell everybody else, I got this, I got this. It's 3rd and 15, and he pulls a shoulder. And like, why?
So but you were talking, this really frustrates you just as a coach and about the philosophy, because and I didn't pick this up obviously in real time, but he went against what he was supposed to do on that play. You were saying 10 guys know their job, and Richard Sherman saying, wait, I'm going to freelance here. I'm taking him.
Well, looking at it on TV, it looked like he patted his chest and said, I'm going to go take this guy. And then the other guys were scrambling around like he was going to call a shot. He was going to handle the problem. And then he goes inside, and he handled the problem, all right? He handled it for Green Bay and gave him a first down on 3rd and 15. If you're going to go call your shot and you're going to go against what everybody else is doing and what you practiced in that situation, then you better you better hit it out of the park. And when this happens, it's just wrong.
And by the way, if there's not illegal contact right there, the Niners, you see, have 3 timeouts. There's 43 seconds. That's a sack on 3rd and 15.
They're in great shape.
They're punting, and they have a chance to have their own version of a 30-second drive to try a last-second field goal.
Yeah, with 3 timeouts. You can throw it anywhere you want, and you've got a great opportunity to win the game.
So, yeah, the Packers won, but you ask yourself, do I trust this team moving forward? They got a bye. Coming up, they got the Rams and the Patriots on the road. How much do you trust that this Packers team is going to be okay just because he's healthy?
No, they're not going to be okay. I don't expect them to be okay. In the NFC, where you have so many quality quarterbacks, yeah, there are teams that have a wart. They have a unit that they don't like. They have a part of the game that they don't necessarily feel is their strong suit. But Green Bay's got plenty of holes. running the football. They got gashed last night, giving up big plays in critical situations, and they got a lot of draft capital in their defensive backfield. They cannot run the football. So now a team that plays in Green Bay, I know people don't believe in global warming. Okay, I don't care what you believe in. It gets cold there. How can you win in Green Bay without a running game? All right? You can't rely on Aaron Rodgers to throw for 400 yards because it's just not sustainable to be able to do in bad weather, being on the road. It's just not something you can depend on.
And their offensive line right now, to me, is playing far worse than it did last year, which is one of the reasons Rodgers running for his life. You're right that I look at the schedule. And Rodgers said after the game, he said on the field to Leslie Visser, he said, we got the bye, and then we'll see what we're made of with the tough stretch we have coming up, meaning what Jenna's talking about, at the Rams, at the Patriots. They can't beat good teams playing like this. I know that you don't want it, that the Niners, they are a professional team. I get that. But C.J. Beathard, even under the great coaching of Kyle Shanahan, had been a bad NFL quarterback. He was 1-6 with a 71 rating in his career leading up to last night. Played the best game of his career against the Green Bay Packers in a game the Packers absolutely had to have.
Okay, Brock Osweiler, who nobody really would, is in love with, played really well against the Chicago Bears, which is the #1 defense.
Right.
They're professional football players. Those things happen.
No, of course they happen, right? But that's part of the reason they happen is because the Green Bay defense didn't play well. That's the point I'm making. It's not just that all of a sudden C.J. Beathard became dramatically better. Yes, he played better than he typically would, but also the Green Bay Packers defense allowed some of those things to happen, made some critical mistakes to where in a game they had to have, they needed Aaron Rodgers to save them twice.
You just can't go out and put the uniform on and think everybody's going to bow down to you because you're in Lambeau Field and you're the Green Bay Packers. If you underestimate someone and you take them lightly, then you're going to have real problems, no matter who you're playing against.
Yeah, it was fairly obvious in that game last night, especially through the first half.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.